Hi guys, this is just a video to show you some of the resources that are set up for the folio. You need to make some decision about what you're going to do for the folio in term 2. If you go to the cover page, you'll find general info initially about the folio, but this is more to do with looking at the resources. So if you come down here below the general information, okay, and to sum up the general information, this folio leads you to a final product. It is 20 A3 pages. There is no word count. There is no bibliography. Just keep that stuff in mind. You can look at the details on this, but that sort of sums it up. Okay. Now, if we come down here to the bottom, just underneath here, the first thing we'll look at is the task sheet. If you click on there, you should be able to get your task sheet up, which gives you a more detailed description, as well as the rubric for this, as well as the assessment design criteria. Okay. Now let's just get rid of that. The next thing we'll look at here is the design briefs. If you click in here, you'll get a list, and most of you who did this in stage 1 would have seen this document before. This is just a list of different design briefs that you can adapt to your own purposes. Okay, now essentially you are going to work with either graphic design, product design, or built environment design. Now some of you have already got an interest in built environment design. Some of you are mainly going to focus on graphic design. So graphics is probably one of the I guess the most examples in here. Okay, so you need to have a look at these, look at which one might or might not suit you, and then you need to kind of maybe pare it down, adapt it. But the idea here is for you to come back to me with some ideas, and from there we will refine your ideas to work out what it is you're going to do. Okay. Now you don't have to use one of those, but it's a starting point. Okay. There's a couple of other pieces of information here, organising and annotating. Alright, now if that does take a little while to open, maybe just try downloading it, and you should get this document here. Okay, and just open it from your desktop or wherever you want to save it. Now this goes through the process that you need to go through. Okay. You start off with a design brief. Now this is where you summarise what it is you're going to do. You can have a look through here. There's also a sample design brief that goes through what it is you're supposed to do. There's the sample. So you need to look at a simple statement of what it is you're going to be designing, what the requirements are at the end, what sort of considerations or restrictions there are. Now this is where I can help you out by sort of acting as I guess a client in this regard and suggesting some of the things you may want to consider. So we move down here a bit. The next step is to research. Now the idea behind researching is so you can see what other examples are out there, whether it's to get ideas or whether it's to make sure your design doesn't wind up too close to someone else's. So we move down a little bit further. You can annotate your research. Now this is the list of terms that you should maybe try and incorporate into your ideas, into your research, both, wherever possible. Okay, you are assessed on your ability to use subject terminology, so have a look through these. If you're unsure on some of these, although the information is fairly clear, you could do some searches online on YouTube to get some graphic examples of what we're talking about. But it's all pretty straightforward. Okay. So when you're analysing or commenting on your work, or even the stuff in the research, okay, think about these sort of things. What are you doing? What design factors are you applying? Why did you do it? Where might the idea lead? What design strategies could be applied? Is it a good idea? Does it fulfill the design brief? Does it appeal to the end user? These are some things you can comment on. There's an example here, okay, between a good and bad annotation. And we'll look at some other examples later on. So just have a look through this stuff. Is all I can say. Have a read through. I mean, I don't need to really read this to you. You can see it, and you can refer to it and come back to it. Okay, some examples of what pages could look like if you're doing sketches and ideas on them. And let's stop there for a sec. Okay, the next one is design folio and practical preparation. If you have a look at this, it is just simply it's got the statement of what it is you have to do again. Okay, work down through there, but it's got some examples of what folio pages could look like. Now, a lot of these are actually done by hand. You could have versions where you've tried out ideas on the computer. Either way, you need to have pages of ideas when you get to your idea pages of your ideation. Once again, have a look through these, have a bit of a read on the comments that go with them, things that you can try out. For instance, when you're looking at logos, different stuff you can do. The aim here is to have a huge range of ideas in the beginning of your ideation and gradually narrow it down to final ideas at the end that become your final design. Alright, so have a look through these. Some of this is from Year 12 art shows, some of this is from, well, it's all over the place, to be honest. Okay, so, and there's some examples of what different presentations could look like for different categories of either graphics or product or built environment. Not many people tend to choose product. You have to be fairly reasonable using SketchUp. Like if you're doing built environment, you need to probably use SketchUp as well. Graphic can involve using, it could be event posters, it could be illustrations, logos, websites, ebook cover, packaging. But built environment, likewise. We'll come back and look at some galleries in a minute, and we'll go through that as well. These are all part of the resources. Okay, in addition to the information that's here, I've got a couple of selected students' folios. Okay, there's folio 1 and folio 2 for 2 students. If we have a look at this one here, you would have seen the examples of the finals up in the room. If we look at this one first, now this is a fairly simple, straightforward brief. A takeaway sushi shop requires a logo that can be applied to a range of purposes, including a storefront, takeaway package, and company apparel. The logo should aim to attract both men and women of all ages. This could have a bit more detail in it, which we can work out when you start sort of putting ideas forward. This was an A, this particular folio, and it's a company folio. Like I said, there's still room for improvement. The brief could have had a bit more information in it. But if we work our way down here, okay, so we've got to research. So you work through the research. This is looking at other examples of sushi type shops. Be careful when you're looking at logo research that you're not just finding clip art type logo. The logos that are online where they're selling logos to businesses. Try and find actual businesses if possible. Okay, you could use both, but you know, once again, like I said, you're looking for ideas, but you're also looking to make sure you don't plagiarize someone else's work. So there's a whole bunch of research examples on here, short, brief ideas. He's even done a conclusion for his research, sort of summing up what he's worked out by looking at it all. And then ideation. Now in this case, he hadn't worked out the name for his business, so he's used a bit of a mind map here to work this out. Okay, that can be either decided at the very beginning, in which case you don't need this page, or you can use one of your ideation pages to work it out. Now, ideation logo. So you started off with a photo, working from there, developing, playing around. This is on Illustrator. You could do some of this by hand, looking at different fonts, different combinations of then the fonts, names, and the logo, working down sort of a whole range of like this whole sort of thought bubble sort of thing, which I think from memory he didn't pursue. And you can read through this yourself and see what he's actually sort of talked about here. This is a good example because he actually does talk about what he's working on, how the idea is different, It's very structured. Your design doesn't have to be quite this structured. Anyway, so he's sort of finalised down towards this idea. I mean, given the fact that he doesn't play around with a lot of different image ideas, there's a lot of variation in what he has got here. So let's move our way down. So now he's looking at sort of extra bit of research, looking at how logos can be applied. Now, how you structure this is up to you. Okay, so he sort of started off with research, gone into ideas, and then back to research again to look at how this stuff is applied in to shops, to merchandise, to whatever. Okay, now he's got the sort of setup for the signage. Now he's got the idea worked out, and he's testing this out. Okay, so working down through this stuff here, down here again, logo application to packaging. So once again, he's sort of reversed back and gone through this process of breaking it down in this way. It's up to you how you do this. It's a logical process. Okay, so once again, aprons, he's looked at that. Come down here, he's trying out his own designs, and logo application this time, refining it down, conclusions. These are the final things he's sort of come up with as far as his presentation goes. He didn't need a bibliography, so he's actually done more than he needed to here. So do not exert any sort of effort on a bibliography for this, because you don't need it. I would suggest now that you have a look at the other folios that are here. And then I'm going to do another video in a second looking at past Year 12 art show material, so you can see the sorts of examples that have been done.